Welcome to Magdi-AI Tutorials, where we help you make the most of Magdi-AI, your software QA AI assistant. This tutorial today will cover MagdiWriter, the documentation creator. So let's begin. We're going to begin by clicking the button MagdiWriter Documentation Creator. So, as part of QA, sometimes we have to create a number of different quality assurance documents for our quality management system. For us new to QA, a lot of times we think of QA documents as test plans, bug reports, maybe test cases, things like that. But there are a lot more documents to consider. And usually, when you work at a senior level or you're working with a company that requires you to develop these types of documents because they have to adhere to regulations or compliance guidelines or for certification processes, we need to create these documents. And let me tell you, I absolutely understand the time constraints that we're under. So let Magdi AI help you create these documents. So let's start by creating one example. We're going to create a comprehensive test plan based off of a specification to give it guidance. So let's say something like this. So we're going to ask it to create a comprehensive test strategy for online casino games. So basically, we want a test strategy that gives us guidance on how to test the types of games that we are developing at our company. And I offered a specification, which here you can find to the left an upload button. You click it and basically select the document that you want to provide to the to Magdi so she can kind of analyze it and help you create that test strategy document. So then we just send it. So the attachment that I provided is an example that's available to you. There are a number of examples that you can use to kind of play and test with Magdi AI. And the URL to the GitHub project is located in the description below. So we often, like I said, if you are a lot of online casino games, if you work in that arena, they often have to adhere to certain compliances. So, as part of our quality management system, we need to create a comprehensive test strategy that we can communicate to say, this is our approach to testing in general. So, it's not about how we're going to specifically test this one game. It's about what's our overall test approach, which we should be taking into consideration a number of factors, such as, browser channels, devices, test lab requirements, who's all involved, things like that. So you see Magdi AI after a few seconds delivered a preview of a plan. So here you will find in the chat window a copy button. So you can always copy out the contents of any window and then paste it in whatever your preferred document tool is, such as what's the name? Sometimes I forget, but like Microsoft Word or SharePoint. Is it SharePoint? I think you get what I'm trying to say. For some reason, I'm losing the terminology this morning. I think I need a second cup of coffee. But anyway, it offers you a preview, and then you have here where it offers document control. It lets you know that it's a test strategy for online casino games. And then you can kind of scroll through it to kind of see what it has generated. And so you see that it provides a lot of information, such as the objectives, what's in and out of scope. That's very important. You can also challenge Magdi AI to say, why would this be out of scope? And I can kind of share with you from experience that if you're dealing with real money, that is often very, very difficult to test. Outside of a very controlled environment. So, here, a lot of times when they want to test anything that deals with money transactions, they often use mocks as opposed to real money. So, we have the different levels of testing, the areas that are going to be considered. You can always update this policy. Um, and the other thing that I kind of like about this is if we were to develop this on our own, a lot of times we may not even think of all of these things to take into consideration. And so here you can kind of see that it provides you a lot of information to take into consideration, even such as reporting and metrics and how you should do it. And anything that you want to expand upon, you can definitely challenge Magdi-AI to help you kind of expand on a particular uh, area that you want more information or more comprehensive information in that particular area. So I'm just going to quickly scroll down. You see that it has roles and responsibilities. These are the people that QA often interacts with when you're developing a project. The schedule is something you definitely want to update based on your release process that you have at your company. One of the things that we're looking at with Magdi-AI is to be able to link internal resources so that it also can refer to other processes and guides when it's take that information into consideration when it's generating documents for you. And so here is the end of the preview. Now, here it will kind of give you some instructions at the end, and it asks you, hey, do you want to expand on anything? Do you want to add anything? And at this point, you can say, nah, this is good. And you can copy, click the back button, and of course, check your usage info line to see how many tokens you have consumed thus far. My recommendation is if you don't have anything to modify or you don't want Magdi AI to modify anything for you, maybe this is a good start for you and you just kind of want to do the final updates yourself, then you can kind of save yourself the tokens. If you remember from a previous video, you're allotted 20 tokens per day in the community version of Magdi AI, and this resets daily. So you probably want to kind of conserve your token usage for the day. So on to the next example. So let's continue with the second example and have Magdi AI create a policy and procedure guide for us. So let me kind of enter the query. Okay, So I'm asking it to create a policy and procedure guide for handling test mobile devices. Um, as you're well aware, these days we basically leverage testing on mobile devices more so than laptops or desktops, because most of the consumer base is using mobile devices, especially depending on the type of solution you're testing. If you're testing gaming, a lot of times it's going to be mobile devices. But if you're testing financial products, yeah, you might be on a laptop or even a desktop. But to be honest with you, it's been a long time since I've seen a desktop on somebody's desk. So we want to kind of get a head start on creating this guideline. And as you can see, I highlighted including the use of browser stack. And we also want to kind of get an idea on the type of devices we should prioritize for testing. And we want the devices that are based on consumer popularity. A lot of times, if you have somebody who can uh, generate statistics, you can basically kind of get an idea of what consumers are using your product, where they're located, and what's the most popular devices that they're using when they're using your product. So again, here again as a reminder, we can copy out the contents if you're satisfied with it. You can always use Magdi AI to kind of update it based on your later requirements. And we have to remember that when we're asking Magdi AI or any type of AI assistant to aid us, we get the best output when we learn to kind of structure our prompts accordingly so that we get the kind of information we're looking for. So here it kind of gives you a title to the document. It includes a section on the metadata it uses. It lets you know what the purpose and scope of this is, what the roles and responsibilities should be. This also can be modified according to who would be responsible within your organization. It kind of outlines the definitions. And so you can kind of scroll through it and see all of the information that it provides. Um, Here it gives you instructions on how you should check out a device. Sometimes in some organizations we share devices. So a lot of times we have devices that are assigned to us. And then other times there are different devices that we want to use. And so it gives you instructions on how to manage while you have it, and then you see what you should do when you check in and sanitize it. Again, there may be changes that you want to make based on how your organization works, but this also gives you a lot of great ideas that you should take into consideration. So it gives you a good head start on what information should be included. You might find that some information is a bit overkill. You might find that, hey, you want to elaborate more on this particular area, but you can see that it covers a lot of different areas. And you can see here that it has also provided you with what the high priority coverage is. So here you can kind of see that it outlines the different devices that you should take into consideration. This is your top tier one devices. And based on some statistics that we pulled up when we were testing casino games, this looks very close, but I would argue that now we're looking at iPhone, I think 16 is more popular or growing in popularity. And you can see that the IMEI wasn't available. So you can also kind of do a little bit of research to get those numbers there. And then it offers you a top tier two set of devices to be considered. And then here finally is a tier three of devices. And so it also kind of shows you based on those three tiers, here's your priority, here's your make. model, the OS that it supports. It also provides you some other information, and the only information it couldn't pull at this time is the actual IMEI numbers of the different devices. Usually, that IMEI number comes from the devices that you have within your ownership. So once you kind of have this list, you can see what you have in your test lab and you can modify it accordingly. Um, Here it provides some last minute information here. Um, and then, of course, if you scroll all the way down, it'll ask you some additional things. And this is also very good because it also kind of helps you think of information you might not have thought of. So it's asking, do you want to tailor the device list to your target regions and carriers? Um, Again, one of the updates that we want to make with Magdi AI is to link certain information to Magdi AI that it can take into consideration. So it would pull that information from your device list, the actual mobile devices you have in your ownership. And so it's asking you some other questions like populate the inventory table, add CI examples for browser stack and things like that. So these are just additional things that you can consider. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, you can go back, check the usage information line, and see that we've only consumed 2 tokens and we generated these 2 documents. So happy testing and see you in the next video.